Now, I could be wrong, but I believe that Jussie Smollett could be facing federal prison time. My understanding is that it could be 5 years in prison, and the reason for it, we have this story here just from last night. Jussie Smollett was involved in creating racist letter, which later led to attack, sources say. We got a couple updates. A lot of people were pushing around information that the two brothers associated with the Jussie Smollett incident, the Osundairo brothers, had testified before a grand jury. I saw this being pushed out by a lot of people. It is not true. They were speaking with police and prosecutors at a court building. That's our understanding right now. However, I believe according to that meeting, or at least the latest reporting, Jussie Smollett received a letter, and I think they have a photo of it right here. And it says, oh, wow, they got the actual address on there. Well, there you go. 60608. Yes, I'm from Chicago. I'm very familiar with their zip codes. It says MAGA, Jussie Smollett, but it looks like Smollett. And it says EMP 1945. Oh, that's the address. Okay. And then it says, you will, I think it says die. And they call him a black, and they use a homophobic slur. So apparently police searched the apartment of the two brothers. They found magazines, and they started investigating as to whether or not this was the case. But here's the thing. Jussie received this letter. It was, and then it was about a week later, he got attacked. I use air quotes because it is believed he wasn't attacked at this point. So right now, there has been much reporting that here's what happened. Jussie, this is what's been reported, or at least speculated or reported based on sources. Here's where we are. That's a disclaimer because we're in lawsuit territory. Jussie Smollett was involved in creating the racist letter. Okay, apparently this was part of the hoax. When he received it, nobody seemed to care. It didn't get enough traction, so he decided to escalate his tactic. Now, a lot of people on the right are concerned because he had appeared at a rally with Kamala Harris, who was pushing an anti-lynching bill. And her and Cory Booker used this to advocate for their anti-lynching bill. A lot of people think that there may be a conspiracy between him and some politicians. Well, I'm not going to go that far. I think a lot of people fake hate crimes for a lot of reasons. But let's read the story and go through the details, because I do have the Crime in Wrigleyville and Boys Town blog pulled up too, as well as some breakdown on the letter which started everything. They say the two brothers involved in the Jussie Smollett attack told police that Smollett was behind creating a racist letter that was sent to the actor on the set of the show, Empire, according to sources with firsthand knowledge of the investigation. And when that letter did not get a bigger reaction, Smollett orchestrated the attack a week later with the two men, Ola and Abel Osundairo, sources said. Also, Tuesday, sources said the two brothers were seen on a ride-share video camera before being dropped off near the location of the attack. My understanding, too, is that police said they looked nervous. So I also want to point out, one thing we're learning from this is the horrifying reality of the surveillance state. These guys didn't realize they were on a camera every step of the way from their apartment in Wrigleyville into the cab and to the location in Chicago. They just so happened to find an area where there was no camera, even though they thought they were in an area with a camera, at least according to reporting. Smollett received a letter containing a white powder. On January 22nd, the letter was mailed to Chicago's Cinespace Studios, where the show Empire is filmed. The letter prompted a hazmat response. CPD says the white substance was later determined to be aspirin. That's not true. It's acetaminophen. Oh, well, maybe. My understanding is it was acetaminophen. The note was crafted with letters apparently cut out from magazines to form words. That the pieced together message contained racial and homophobic threats directed at Smollett. A magazine is one of the pieces of evidence retrieved from the brothers' home last week during a search conducted by CPD. Investigators also recovered a book of stamps. Now, what they don't get into, which is really important, and I don't want to bury the lead here, is the FBI has been involved from the get-go. The FBI has been involved, as well as other federal investigators, and I'm not sure from which department. But listen, you send a letter in the mail with white powder, you're getting the feds involved. The Postal Service is federal, okay? Smollett claims that two men attacked him in Streeterville early January 29. As he was heading to his apartment, he said they yelled racial and homophobic slurs at him, poured a chemical on him, and poured a rope on his neck. Sources say at least one of the brothers bought the rope used in the incident at Smollett's request. The sources also say the Empire actor paid for the rope, which was purchased at the Crafty Beaver hardware store in Ravenswood neighborhood the weekend of January 25th. I also want to point out they questioned the two brothers, and they have a lawyer. I believe their lawyer was present. I believe that's, actually, I got the tweets from Rafer Weigel. He says, Two brothers in Smollett case met with police and prosecutors. So he doesn't say with their attorney. I would assume that would be the case. But he clarifies they did not testify before a grand jury. So they say, finishing the story, CBS 2 Brad Edwards reports a state attorney, Kim Foxx, has recused herself from the case. Acting state's attorney for the investigation will now be first assistant state's attorney Joseph Magatz. Wow, his name is Magatz. Chicago police say the FBI is handling the investigation surrounding the letter because that's federal level concern. And what that means is that if what the two brothers claim is true, they said he directed them to do it. I'm leaning toward that's probably true. Jussie Smollett is looking at a federal offense. Okay, that's serious. That's federal prison time. There's a difference. People don't seem to understand. There's state, there's federal. Federal is much worse. So back over at crime in Wrigleyville and Boys Town, Chicago. This is the local blog that's been covering a lot of this news and has been ahead of much of the reporting. They've done a really great job. So here they say, hold me down. They got some kind of threat through the mail. How the Jussie Smollett saga began. At 2:30 p.m. on January 22nd, a tactical sergeant in the Chicago Police Department's Ogden District was waved down near the West Side production studio where Fox's television empire is based. Hold me down, the sergeant told dispatchers. They got some kind of threat through the mail. And so began the long, twisted, and still unraveling tale of Jussie Smollett, star of the Fox program and recipient of the threat letter, who a week later would claim that two masked men beat him, put a noose around his neck, poured bleach on him, and called him racist and anti-gay slurs near his Streeterville apartment building. CWB Chicago on Monday reported on the month-old multi-agency federal investigation that now has Smollett in its crosshairs, as possibly being the person who mailed the threat letter that started it all. Wow. New details have now been learned about those very early moments in the ongoing saga as the first police, fire, and federal law enforcement officers handled the threat letter. CWB Chicago is waiting for the Chicago Police Department to fulfill a Freedom of Information request for a full copy of the threat letter incident report. But on Tuesday, Fox Chicago reporter Rafer Weigel posted the report's narrative section on Twitter. Backup officers' body cameras were rolling as they arrived and met with a tactical sergeant at Empire's executive offices. They met with Smollett and the show's executive producer, Dennis Hammer. Escorted to Hammer's office, the officers saw the now infamous envelope sitting on the corner of the wooden desk. It had been mailed 4 days earlier in the southwest suburbs. Listen, when you mail something, they know exactly where it comes from. And it's likely you're going to be on camera mailing it in many circumstances. Now, yeah, probably some street mailboxes might not have any cameras near them. But they know when it was picked up. They know where it came from. And that's... So I don't know, did they drive to the south suburbs to mail it? Hammer told police that he wore gloves to open the letter and peek inside, and Smollett said he too wore gloves to remove the letter from its envelope. He discovered an unknown white powdery substance on the front of the letter. With that, the fire department was called, a hazmat hot zone was established, and CFD specialists began processing the letter. Before long, tests were complete. The white powder was determined to be acetaminophen, the generic name for Tylenol. Forensic field testing found an unknown protein substance on the letter, which was placed into an evidence bag. Hammer's and Smollett's gloves were placed in a second bag. Less than 90 minutes after the tactical sergeant was flagged down, federal law enforcement took over the case. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service had been notified, and an agent from the FBI's Chicago field office had paid a visit to the Empire offices. The agent, who has been with the Bureau for 17 years, has worked international terrorism cases and is currently the FBI's weapons of mass destruction coordinator and a chemical agent instructor for the FBI SWAT team. Needless to say, whoever mailed that letter, Smollett should be very concerned to know that an investigator with that level of experience was merely the first person assigned to the case. Now we have some other reporting that picked up. NBC reported Jussie Smollett pleaded no contest in 2007 to giving false information to police after he was pulled over for a DUI in California. According to the report, Smollett identified himself as his younger brother, Jake, and signed Jake's name on his processing document. Smollett eventually completed an alcohol education program and successfully fulfilled the terms of a sentence. Not sure why that's entirely relevant. That was, about 12 years ago. But we do have some other developments. This is again from Rafer Weigel, who is Emmy Award-winning anchor reporter at Fox 32 Chicago. He says, CPD says they're hearing whispers that Jussie Smollett has made a change in legal representation, but no one has given them any official word of that. This is also in reference to his tweet where state's attorney has recused herself. So right now they believe that the state's attorney, Kim Foxx, may actually know some of the witnesses, maybe knows people affiliated with Empire. We're now hearing that this might be the third legal representation switch. Or the third legal representation, second switch, We first heard that there was a high-powered attorney who claimed to be representing Smollett. Then on the radio, he said, on the radio said this was true. Then we heard that these, I believe 2 other lawyers said, no, we're now representing him. And now we're hearing that he may be switching again. Here's what it sounds like. It sounds like he dug his own grave. Jussie Smollett had, wow. Look, everybody believes this to be true. He's being disavowed by even, people like Trevor Noah and high-profile celebrities on the left. They're calling him out for lying. He's being written out for. He's got most of his scenes slashed from Empire, apparently. I can't imagine him returning after this. He's destroyed his life and his career. How stupid do you have to be? How evil? Fortunately, the evil act carried out that we presumably believe was carried out by Jussie Smollett. Fortunately, he was too stupid to execute it properly, because I hate to imagine where we would be if he was smart enough to execute this properly and we didn't know it was a hoax. That's what truly terrifies me. How many times something like this may have happened that is a hoax. But I got to say, when this story first broke, and you heard me say it, I have sources who work in left-wing media who said, I don't buy it. And these are people who are like hardcore activists, like the science denial left identitarian types who think really insane things. They didn't believe it either. So when you got the FBI involved, I'm gonna go ahead and bet they knew from the beginning this was a publicity stunt hoax, and they threw their resources behind it. It seems like I've also heard reporting that he could be served with an arrest warrant very soon. That they're expecting this could go to a grand jury. We'll see what happens. Those are the latest updates, but I will be following the case as in the circumstance we're in now. These updates are rolling in rather quickly, right? So we were going days, maybe a week without updates before, but now it's just nonstop updates. I think he's going to get arrested. I really do. So anyway, stick around. I'll have another video up at 1 p.m. I will see you then.